I would say from a pure methods perspective, teaching forecasting models on static data sets is probably good enough. Arguably, you could even say it's more rigorous because you have full control over the data and you can describe it precisely. But in a simulation context, students have the possibility to experience the consequences of their decisions. And that helps a lot in terms of engagement and motivation. It also lets them experience firsthand the complexity and the interdependence of the different decisions. So that it's not just isolated silos and isolated decisions that you make on some specific data, but you have to look at the whole system. And it lets them experience that the supply chain is very dynamic. It's not one data set and you forecast and you're done. It's continuously monitoring the changing data and adapting your strategy. So yeah, I think that experimental dimension is hard if you just work on a single data set alone.
You have now run simulation game in the course for 2 years. What does a business simulation environment add to supply chain analytics education that student may not get from traditional cases or static data sets?
Yeah, I guess there are, again, several points that I can mention. One is the competitiveness in the simulation game. Because the teams are measured and playing against one another, that's a motivational incentive. And also, there's real complexity with many interacting variables to manage at once. So students will struggle to look at everything at the same time, and they will have to focus their attention. There's also an element of human decision makings. So the outcomes depend not only on the analysis, but on the choices that people make under pressure, and also on what the competing groups make. So their choices. And maybe most importantly, it encourages students to reflect on strategy, not just on technique. So they have to think about what they are trying to achieve, how they position their enterprise in the competitive environment, and why, rather than simply applying a method to a fixed data set.
Yeah.
And maybe as a final comment, it lets students fail safely, so they can make poor decisions and then they can look at the decisions and learn from them, which I think is a nice feature as well.
Yeah, great to hear. Well, one interesting aspect of the module is that students do not only analyze data, they also generate it themselves through operational decisions in the simulation game. How does this change the way students understand analytics and planning?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, in the simulation, the data is not given up front, but it's constantly changing over time, and it's a result of their own actions as well as the actions of their competitors. And yeah, that makes, I think, an important point, because data is not just something to be analyzed retrospectively. It's an outcome of the system, and there's some interaction. And that helps students develop a much deeper understanding of planning, of uncertainty, of decision making under pressure and in a timely fashion. Yeah,